Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds. This is the podcast where we represent both the left and the right. It's civil. We have it's not always civil, but it's we're going for a more civilized approach to debate where we don't just pander or stroke you with just one side of the argument. It's not an echo chamber. We want to hear both sides, no matter how comfortable. We're looking for the truth, not just some stupid virtue, like trying to make yourself holier than thou.
Virtue
Um,
signaling. Yay.
yes. So that's we have in this corner, we have Ryan Cragen. He represents the liberal left, and his brother and not nemesis, but they try to get along. It's Josh Cragen. It's the right conservative small business owner. Then these two like to go at it and try to change each other's minds is what the goal is, and sometimes they do. But so let's tonight we're gonna be talking about the we're gonna talk about Doge and like what did Doge accomplish? What did it do? Like and that's the Department of Government Efficiency, if you don't remember, that Elon Musk spearheaded at the beginning of 2025 when Trump took office. And then we're going to talk about the Somali fraud findings in Minnesota. So yeah, so it's going to be a good podcast. So let's first thank our sponsor, Lux Bidets. We're all big fans of bidets. We like to spray, not smear.
Ugh, ugh. Yes, indeed.
So we're big fans of that. Um,
Indeed. Yeah.
anyway,
Get a Lux
yeah,
bidet.
get a Lux Bidet. Uh, Ryan, do you want to give us this?
Yeah.
You're basing this off of a New York Times article, right? You want
Yeah.
to just give us the
Yeah.
intro?
It came out on December 23rd, and I happened to catch it and thought it might be worth talking about. I haven't wanted to talk about a lot of things, and maybe that'll come up later, but interesting article. I mean, I don't think anybody's been thinking about Doge recently, in part probably because it was a huge failure. It didn't accomplish anything. So the New York Times went through their wall of receipts, which is a website where they list like everything that they've cut, right?
That was Doge's wall of
Yeah,
receipts. Yeah.
Doge's wall of receipts. And basically what they ultimately conclude is that Doge literally did not accomplish anything meaningful under the Trump administration. Government spending has actually gone up, not down. So Elon Musk said he was going to cut $1 trillion from the federal budget, and they maybe cut a couple billion total.
Yeah. So they found some things, but most of the big ticket items couldn't be like
They were
they
inaccurate. Yeah.
didn't right inaccurate or didn't actually get cut.
Yep.
And yeah, and so like the actual things that were confirmed were inconsequential.
Yes, basically. And I don't want to say that like a couple $1 billion is a drop in the bucket, but in the federal budget, it kind of is. I'm just looking at one graphic that they have on the website on that article. It says of the top 40 savings claims on Doge's wall of receipts, 28 of them were not actually real. So they had one for like $4 billion. No, not real. It's like almost all of the big ticket items were just not real, right? Like
Yeah.
they didn't actually happen.
They
Yeah.
weren't like we cut this contract, but the contract didn't end up getting cut.
Right. Or
Or
they said they cut one, but it expired already. So like they didn't cut anything. It was done.
they don't get credit
Um,
for that.
yeah. And there were a bunch where I liked the comparison they actually gave in the article. So Doge would go in and they're like, oh, your budget for this contract, like your maximum peak that you can spend is $750 million. We're going to drop that down to $200 million. And then we're going to claim that we saved the government $500 million when in fact that only spent like $20 million on the
They
contract.
might not have ever hit that
Yeah,
number.
so they never would have hit the ceiling anyway. And they're like, but we saved $500 million. And it's like, no, actually, they'd never spent anything, right? And they
Mhm.
probably weren't going to spend it. So there was a lot of just like really shady accounting practices. And of course, a lot of it was really hidden and discreet. So basically, Doge did nothing. And then in the meantime, the Trump administration has actually increased federal spending. So despite this claim of like, we're going to cut out waste and we're going to do all these things, they've actually increased government spending. And I will say, I think they did accomplish one thing and one thing only, but I'd love to get your take before I go down that path. Thoughts on the complete
Now, and then when you
bust
say
of
the
Doge?
Trump administration increased spending, but it was like government has increased spending under the Trump administration, right? Because this
Well,
is Congress, right?
yes, but they passed his one big beautiful bill, right? So they basically passed
Well,
Trump's bill.
Congress passed it. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it was Trump's bill. They passed it. They haven't done anything else really. They've basically handed the purse strings over to the Trump administration. I mean, it's a bunch of eunuchs basically running the Congress and the Senate right now. They will do whatever Trump wants.
Hmm.
So yeah, this is the Trump administration.
So, okay. Okay. So what you
That's
want
it.
your thoughts?
Oh, I just think it's ridiculous, right? Like we caused a
What?
lot of pain, right? They're kids starving in Africa and all over the world, right? And I know you guys hate it when I bring that one
Mm,
up first, but it's
there's
it's
still no
legit.
real proof of that.
Actually, the New York Times article gives very specific examples of people going without food in Africa as a result of this, right? So it did happen, right? What did they actually accomplish? What was that was a lot of pain for what?
Well,
To-
okay. So we shouldn't have done it. That's your take.
Why did we do it?
It shouldn't have existed.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And again, I'll come back to the one thing that I think it did, that I think was actually really the purpose.
Like, um, but like we can agree though that the federal government has continued to increase spending in every administration, right? So far. So Trump's no different. Every administration has increased spending and has not gone down, right?
I don't know if that's entirely true. Is that actually true that every administration has increased it? I mean, the last,
That might be different under Bill Clinton. I think
yeah, Clinton was the
the
last balanced
the
budget.
yeah. So in the last 30 years,
Yeah, in the
it
last
has
30 years, I
increased.
think that's absolutely true. I don't think it's true before that, but in the last 30 years, my
Well, and I
understanding
don't think
is,
it
yeah,
was.
they have
I think Clinton's the first one in a while that did it.
the balance the
And
budget. Yeah.
well, he didn't balance the budget, but he decreased spending.
Well, they
It
actually
did
had a budget
decrease.
surplus in one year during the
one
Clinton
year.
administration. One
Yeah,
year.
that's
Yeah.
correct.
We always hash this. The last president to actually do an actual deficit on spending was Calvin Coolidge 100 years ago. It wasn't Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton decreased the spending one
Yes.
year. He didn't
Well,
But
he didn't
he had
fix
a
the
budget
budget. He
surplus
didn't
one year.
balance the budget 1 year out of four or out of
Hmm.
eight. Okay.
the
So be clear
yeah,
about that. Tom's
yeah.
essentially right. Every president spends more than the last one.
That well, and then the reality, and we've talked about this before, that like we're still heading towards
Yeah.
uh a
Cataclysmic
yes.
disaster.
We're
Yes.
we're heading toward a cliff
And Doge
and
didn't solve that. Trump's not going to solve that. He doesn't give a shit.
yeah, well, you're right. So Doge didn't accomplish what it was hoping to accomplish.
Nope.
Yes. Agreed.
And
But
in the, it was, Musk refused to be interviewed for that New York Times article, but he was interviewed by a former Doge employee on her now podcast. And she asked him, if you had it to do over again, would you do it? And he's like, no, it didn't accomplish anything. I would have been better spending time building up my businesses.
well, he said so he appeared on a Joe Rogan episode and was saying like the government's not fixable. He's basically what he said. And he's like, his solution is actually easily, he's like, the only thing I can think of that could possibly save us is an insane increase in productivity through robotics, right? So to beat the deficit, right? And that's like, he's like, that's the only thing I can
Won't happen.
see.
Yeah, I know. That's a
But,
fantasy.
and it might be, but
Well,
I
he's
don't,
trying.
yes, exactly. I don't
He's
see
not
any
going to
other,
succeed.
I
No.
don't, you might be right, but like, I don't see any other solution, right? Does anyone else see any other solution?
I mean, sure. So realistic solution? No. Um,
Right, right.
pipe dreamish solution? Yeah, we pass a constitutional amendment that says the federal government has to have a balanced budget, that it can't
Yes.
engage in deficit spending,
Yes.
right? That
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 will not
is the
happen.
solution.
But
And
it's
a
not
bunch
going to
of
happen.
states, I know it's not going to, that's why I said pipe dream solution,
Yeah,
right?
pipe dream. Right.
A
Yeah.
bunch of states have done that. So we have states that have a constitutional amendment that says they cannot engage in deficit spending. They have to have a balanced budget. That would stop it, right? So, but is it going to happen? No, because there's no political will in Washington, D.C.
Right. Right.
And most Americans aren't aware of this, don't care.
Well,
Yeah, they don't care.
yeah, austerity. This would require austerity, right? Which is
Mhm.
basically like
Mhm.
cutting back on a number of different things.
Yep.
Nobody has the political appetite for this because they wouldn't survive politically. And when always given the choice, governments will always print instead of tightening the belt, right? Is
When given the choice, I think that's probably true. Yeah, because politicians are a bunch
it
of
always has been true.
they're a bunch of
Is-
spineless pussies who only care about re-election, and I think that's disastrously bad.
Right. Yes, it is bad. It's yes. So I actually had hope that maybe Doge could do it, right? It's so in my opinion, he didn't go nearly hard enough or do enough
Well, he
damage.
didn't touch the real things, right? So the real expenditures are the Defense Department, Department of War, right? The Defense Department, um, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And those he was told from day one, like, you can't touch these.
Right.
So if you can't touch those, right? And that's the bulk of the federal budget. All he was doing was like moving the deck chairs around on the Titanic. He never accomplished a damn thing. It was pointless. It was a
You,
completely, utterly pointless exercise that did nothing meaningful.
you would agree then that if he had been allowed to touch those, it could have provided some significant
Uh,
savings.
sure, the Trump administration would not have survived if they tried to go after Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid. I think there would
Let's
genuinely have been like uh, a bloody insurrection.
no,
Oh,
no,
absolutely.
they wouldn't.
Touch
Trump's
Social Security.
administration wouldn't have survived politically. We're like, think about what you're saying. The people that are bilking the Medicare and Medicaid system, they're the ones that are going to rise up in revolution. No, they're the lazy morons that sit at home doing nothing. They're not the ones that are going
They're the
to.
retirees, Josh.
Oh, okay. So we have a bunch of geriatric people that are going to go march on the Capitol. Uh-oh,
You
here we
you
go.
think they wouldn't?
No,
You take away their Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. That's tens of millions of Americans who will
cool.
rise up.
They won't rise up.
Oh, I guarantee
They're
you
the
they will.
laziest out of all of us, or
Nope.
decrepit, or like
Mm-mm.
legitimately on it, so they're disabled. I mean, we're arguing over nothing here, but no, this is why I'm frustrated. Would Trump have survived politically,
No.
insurrection or not? No. Does it
Mm-mm.
matter? He's in his second term. That, like, he's in a prime. That's why I was so excited about Doge. Trump was in a prime position to actually fix the economy because he didn't have to get reelected. And we've already touched on this. This was our last best hope to fix the economy. Is that Elon actually managed to fix something? And if Trump had the will to lose the approval of the people, he could have done it. That's what I'm frustrated about. So I think the only thing I'm actually going to disagree with Ryan on is Elon. Elon was trying, and Ryan refuses to give him props for at least trying. He tried to fix it, but then Trump brought him in and said, "Hey, fix this, but you can't touch this, this, and this, and this." Well, I mean, he was handcuffed from the start. Maybe he couldn't have fixed it even if he wasn't. I don't know. Maybe he was way more optimistic than he should have been, and he just didn't realize what he was getting into. I don't know. But the guy was trying to fix it. And as we all agree, if we don't fix it, the country's doomed. Well, okay, cool. We're doomed. Good night, everybody. Like,
That's the end of the podcast. Good. We're
So
done.
I
the end of the
will
nation.
agree. Do you guys know Scott Galloway? He's like he's a big podcast guy. He's a professor at where is he? Professor at New York New York University Stern School of Business, but
Oh,
he's like
okay.
on all sorts of stuff. But he does a big I've seen him on several different interviews, and he does a big thing on how baby boomers have like screwed over the previous generations. They've like
Hmm.
carried the voting block,
Yep.
like, and that's why like most of our presidents are still baby boomers,
Hmm.
right? Even though they
For
don't even
sure.
represent like our demographic, but like, and most senators are like baby boomers, and like, and that how like, he was saying stuff like Social Security is paid out to people who don't even need it, right? Like there's guys that like
Mm,
make more money and they
disagree.
haven't like shaved it down to be like, oh, you're making 300,000 a year. You don't need Social Security,
Hmm.
right? Like we're not,
Hmm.
that hasn't been changed and stuff like that. So we're like, we've throughout the baby boomers has been this big demographic, and we have catered our laws according to it, and it's come at the cost of like our children and things like
Oh
that.
yeah,
Screwed a lot
for
of
sure.
younger generations.
Yep.
And anyway, he makes a big case for it. It's very interesting. And and I think so. I actually think Ryan's right in the fact that like that group has had a lot of power, continues to have a lot of power, and would be probably could get pretty vicious with whoever tries to touch like these entitlement programs that are mainly catered to that demographic.
For sure.
But
Financially vicious. They ain't
yeah,
marching.
no,
Oh,
no, they're not going
I
in the
think
street.
you'd be surprised. I genuinely do. If they tried to touch Social Security, yes, there would be the political threat, but if they actually did it, I think there would be violence.
Oh, no, I don't think there'd be violence, but I
Oh,
think they, I
100%.
don't think there would need to be violence. These are basically the groups that own all of the institutions,
Yep.
right? That like
Yeah.
they manage, they have all the power right
Hmm.
now, like, and still are hanging on to power, right?
Yep.
And I don't think they need to get violent. So anyway, his whole point is we are isolated. He's like, whenever there's a revolution, it's because the ingredients of revolutions is a lot of unemployed men, like
Oh,
young
okay.
men. And he's
Sure.
like, that's what we're creating right now, right? And he's like,
Unemployment is going up.
and especially for men, and
Yeah,
like,
young men in
Yeah.
yes,
particular.
young men.
Yep.
And it's like he's like that's it's his whole point is like we got to be careful because like we are sowing the seeds of revolution. Like that's and so like that's his point is like this is the group that gets violent, right? It's the young group of like, hey, we can't get jobs and you're taking everything and you own
Hmm.
everything.
They do.
And
It's
so
absolutely true. The top 1% owns 69% of the wealth in the US today. The bottom
yes,
50% own 3% of the wealth.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That tracks.
I just saw those numbers today. I was like, okay. So the one thing that I think it did accomplish that I think Trump actually cared about, right? And I don't know that it was actually Doge that did this, but I think Doge gave it cover. It allowed Trump to fire the 17 inspectors general whose job it was to actually make sure that there was no fraud or waste in the government. So there's now no oversight for federal graft.
Okay.
So I think that's the one thing that Trump actually cared about. I don't think Trump cared about any of the other things. I genuinely don't. I think what Trump wanted was all of the checks and balances that would prevent him from stealing from the federal government and all of his friends and just like basically raiding the cookie jar for the next 4 years. He got rid of them on January 24th. Gone,
Mhm.
right? All of the inspectors general. There is literally nobody watching what they're doing at this point. Nobody. And I think that was the one thing that Doge accomplished that they actually liked.
Hmm.
Okay.
You think Trump was smart? Like, I'm not pushing back on that. I'm not. I'm way beyond defending Trump. I'm just clarifying your position. You're always saying how dumb he is. That's a pretty smart
Oh
move.
no, 100%. No, I think it's a genuinely smart move if your goal is to personally enrich yourself, right? To do everything you can to get rid of all the people who are watching what's going on and can actually do something about it. He fired all of them within what, a week and a half of taking office. He fired every single one of the people who
So,
can actually track government waste and fraud. He fired them all unilaterally, and he didn't actually have the power to do it, but he did it anyway. And Congress didn't stop it or undo it. So there is nobody watching the hen house right now.
So, in your belief is that he's doing that in order to like pave new ways to enrich himself. Like
100%.
I,
hmm.
so I'm talking with some family members last night, and they're going on about Trump and crypto, right? And I think there's
He's
some
made over
Trump
$1 billion
coins,
this year.
right?
Was it like
Yes,
$3
and they're
billion
like,
or something?
and I'm
Yeah.
like, what do you mean he's enriching? And they're like, well, they'll make a they'll pay his crypto, and I'm like, well, what do you mean? They're like, they'll make buy a bunch of
Yep.
crypto, and then he gets a favor over on the other side, and I'm like, okay, well, like, how's that any different than like the Clinton Foundation and taking huge,
It's not.
mass, like over $200
Okay.
billion, and then and things happen, and we have even emails saying these are our good friends from the so and so,
Sure.
right? Make sure we take care of them. And then as soon as she leaves and stops being Secretary of State, the donations dramatically fall,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
To me, it's the exact same thing. It's just a
Yeah.
different
Okay, but that
flavor.
but that
Same thing
doesn't
as Hunter Biden's paintings.
fine, but it doesn't
Yeah.
justify what's happening now. Let's
Sure.
just be clear
Well,
about that, right? So you can
well,
say, yeah, they're all crooked, but right
yes.
now we're literally watching it to a degree that we've never seen before.
Well,
So
I want
yes,
to,
they're all
yes, but
crooked.
what is
That's
it?
fine.
No, and I'm agreeing with you, right? Yes, they're all crooked, but like, what's the difference? What's different? Like,
That
The magnitude,
so
I
you
don't
think,
the
know.
brazenness of it.
you
No,
think it'll
because the
just
Clinton
be
Foundation was right up there, the same
No,
kind
no,
of
no. I mean,
money.
it was to a foundation, right? So I get it. It's like arm lengths removed, right? They're literally saying like, "Oh, you want a $50 million donation to the ballroom? Sure, I'll give you that, and you're going to drop the SEC investigation into my company." Yep, I'll do that, right? I mean, it's just straight bribery. Like we all know it's happening. No one's
right.
even questioning that it's
No.
happening, and no one's doing anything about it. Like it's in public sight. At least with the Clinton Foundation, it's like, I'm going to make a donation to your foundation. And then maybe like some secret hidden thing is going to happen really far over here and we won't know about it. There are literally people buying like
No.
$1 million of Trump meme coins and then getting a pardon within a week. Like that shit's happening
That's
right now.
well, that's where I'm going to push back. The Clinton Foundation was essentially just as transparent. You had giant corporations donating money to the Clinton Foundation, and then within a week, and people tracked it. All of a sudden, that corporation is getting the pipeline, the oil pipeline that it was asking for up in Canada. Like it was essentially just. I mean, maybe Trump's slightly less or slightly more transparent. But I mean, it's the same thing. That's why
I
this is
don't I
frustrating.
don't know if more transparent is worse or better, right? Like stuff was happening behind closed doors and we're like it's all so bad, right? It's
Yeah,
uh,
and that's the frustrating thing. We're going to get into that with what we're going to talk about with Tom um, on the Somali fraud stuff. It's all in the open, but it has been for a long time, and nobody does anything about it. Like it's gross. I'm not defending Trump anymore. I the only thing I might disagree with Ryan on is that Trump was smart enough to fire the inspectors because so he could do more fraud. These presidents, like the last several presidents, have just done a lot of fraud, inspectors or no. Like Nancy Pelosi, she did better on the stock market than Warren Buffett. Like it's the fraud's there. Everybody can see it. Like what's hidden about what Nancy Pelosi was doing? It was very clear she was using insider knowledge to trade stocks. Um, the, it's all been in the open for a while. But I don't disagree with Ryan. Yeah, I'm
I
not defending the Trumps.
I don't yeah, that I don't know like all this everything I'm seeing him do was done I've just seen before. I'm not seeing anything new, right? That's
Yeah.
what I'm
I think the scale is pretty new. So I just looked. The Trump Foundation or the Clinton Foundation received $2 billion during its entire existence.
no,
Yeah,
no.
I just checked it, right? It was $2 billion from 2001 until 2016. Um, Trump has made more
No.
than that this year.
Um, that no, that cannot be right. I'm positive that that's
Check it. Gemini just told me it made about $2 billion during its existence.
no, like
This one says 3 billion
yeah,
over 41
well,
years.
that doesn't make sense. I
I
don't
mean, you guys
understand
are talking like
much of
mega
that.
numbers. No, Trump has made more than that in meme coins this year. That's why I
Okay,
say the
like
scale. I
why are
mean,
we arguing about that?
well, it's
It's still
fine, right?
three
Like,
billion dollars.
sure. And I mean, I did see it got an A rating from Charity Navigator that said 88% of what it brought in actually went to charitable causes. I'm not going to defend the Clintons. I don't really care about defending the Clintons. That's fine. What I'm saying is the corruption and fraud and greed is so blatant and so in the open right now, and no one gives a shit. And this is part of why I'm just like, I don't even want to talk politics right now. I've lost faith in humanity. I'm just like, I'm done.
But
I'm done with it. I
but
can't.
that's how we felt. That's how we felt like
Yeah.
with Biden, and we felt like with
With the
Clinton,
Clintons.
right? Of like we're
And
like, Is anyone care? Like
and
this looks so bad.
even before that, like how long have senators and congressmen gone to Washington and walked away millionaires? This has been going on forever. Like, I guess all we can say is welcome to the club, right? This is how
Yeah,
we
I
felt
know.
for a
And
long time.
that's not where I wanted to
Right.
be.
But
I didn't want to
right,
be
but
part of your club. I'm an idealist and I'm an optimist, and now I've been drugged down into this shitty place where it's like there is no hope for humanity. Like
Wow.
fuck
but well,
humanity. I don't care.
He is bashing our club. Jeez.
Sorry.
Well, you're not
I didn't
invited
want
to
to be
our
part of this
clubhouse.
club. I didn't
We
want
have
to
but
be
a
I
part of this
don't.
club.
clubhouse. We have a secret uh word to get inside. You're not invited anymore, you jerk.
I'm trying to understand because yes, I've been like, this is crazy. This is crazy for a long time. Ryan, you're right. Amount is much lower than I thought it was much higher.
Nope.
I thought it
It's
was
a couple
tens of
$1 billion, which
billions.
is still tons of money.
It is
And
a
I'm
lot,
sure there's a
yes,
lot of
but
corruption and greed in
And
that.
inflation adjusted, that's a
Sure,
lot of
it's
money.
fine.
but
But Trump
yeah,
has made more than that
that's much
in a
less than I thought.
year.
But
In a
like,
year.
what? Tell me, like, I'm trying to understand, like, is it because it's Trump and you're like, you see it and you're like, oh my gosh, look what's happening. This is super frustrating because it's not your guy, but before it was your guy and you were like, I don't know.
No, I mean, it's not like I was a big defender of Biden. I didn't think he was great, right? Like he was better than Trump. Like that was the justification for voting for him. But
And
And that he embezzled less money, like hundreds of millions instead of billions. Like
fine, right? Sure. Like okay, I guess that's
that was your
better.
justification
No, there was no justification.
because it was the same stuff.
Josh, we're okay. I mean, there are so many levels of this, right? And I've actually been working on a blog post where I'm going through this. Um, Donald Trump is literally like the embodiment of all of the horrible things that I see in humanity.
in humanity.
And the part that is killing me is that we can all see it now, right? Like I can't imagine that people don't see this. And 40% of Americans are still like, yeah, he's my guy, right? So he stands for greed and self-enrichment. There's no question about that, right? He has complete contempt for truth. Truth does not matter to him. He lies about everything. And I know both of you are saying, like, well, this is true of all of them. He rejects experts. He rejects knowledge. He celebrates ignorance, right?
Right.
He
Well,
is cruel and he celebrates how cruel he is. He punches down, right?
right.
That for him is a nice thing. He's a bully. He engages in widespread cronyism, cares about loyalty over competence. He is absolutely corrupt. We just talked about this, abuses his power. He's an authoritarian dictator. He has complete disdain for democracy. And on top of that, he's just chauvinist and he cares about like this moral hierarchy. Everything that he stands for is what I oppose. And what is crushing my soul is that I'm now realizing like half of humanity wants this. Like
Right.
half of humanity wants this. And I'm like, fuck humanity. Like, let it burn.
I
I'm
agree.
praying right now for a worldwide plague to just wipe out all humans because I'm like, we don't deserve to live.
Don't
We're
worry.
done. Like,
Wow.
we
It's coming.
suck. We
It's
suck
coming.
as humans.
Well, we do, yes. But like,
Is that your club? Was that the secret word? Am I in now?
which
No.
one?
Because that's where I
No,
am.
'cause
This is why I don't want to talk politics. 'Cause
That's
I'm like,
sad. I'm glad you got that out there. I've noticed the last 2 or
I
3
just can't handle it.
podcasts that you've been like depressed. Every time I talk to you, you're like kind of depressed.
Yeah.
And I think you're mischaracterizing humanity a little bit. Do you honestly think 40% of Americans look at Trump and actually see him for what he is? Or do they see the thin veneer? Because it's really thin now. That's what we were arguing about earlier. But there is still a thin veneer that he's fighting for the common man, right? Okay, that's where we're going to disagree.
Yeah.
You've become so nihilistic.
This is not nihilism. This is misanthropy. I hate humanity right now.
Okay.
I have
All
no
right.
faith in
Fair.
humanity
Can
whatsoever.
so here's I agree with you on nearly everything, Ryan. But like, but this isn't what I want to know is so this is I have a sibling that posts every day about Trump and how much he hates Trump and Trump's the worst, and da, da, da. And everything and everything Republicans and conservatives do is horrible, right? And it's like, and I'm like, okay, but like the vast majority of his stuff is either inaccurate or that the other side has done this exact same thing and he's just now saying, "Oh, look at this like gerrymandering. Look, they're gerrymandering the election." You're
Both
like,
sides do it. Sure.
"Yes, both sides exactly." And you're like, "Both sides do it so badly, right?" And you look at like, California is 80% Democrat in office, but it's about 40-60, right? And it's
Hmm.
like, and you're like, yes, there's gerrymandering. And Bill Maher did a thing and he showed all the different blue states that are doing it. And he's like, don't be hypocrites, right? He's like, you're
Hmm.
all doing it.
Yep.
But he's like, oh, look, a Republican. And you're like, come on, dude. And he said similar things to what you've said about like, I don't like Trump's character. And I don't like that he's like the person that's in charge and that it's like shown in our face. And I'm like, yeah, but like at the same time, this stuff all existed and you just didn't, it didn't like because it's hidden, right? That you're like, oh, everything's good, right? Or I can look past it. Or that's kind of what was saying a few minutes ago. Like, why didn't it bother you before? Why is it bothering you now, right? Like, I don't, I don't
Question.
get that.
No. And that's a fair question. I think why it's bothering me now is because I'm realizing, okay, Trump's an asshole. He's a piece of shit human being,
Yeah,
right? Like I think we all agree on this. He's just
I,
a
I,
terrible human being. Okay.
I think I agree.
If it
Well,
was just Trump, I'd be like, all right, there's some hope for humanity, right? But
if he
he
was
won the
if he
popular vote.
was
Yeah.
universally despised by everyone,
Yes.
then you'd be like, oh, okay, we recognize him for what he
Yes.
is.
He won the popular vote this time. Even
Right,
the previous time, he didn't win the popular vote, right? He won the electoral college vote. This time he
right,
won both. And
right,
what that tells me is that the majority, they knew what they were getting too. Because it wasn't like he was an unknown quantity. They already had him
No,
once. They
no,
already
no,
had him
no, no.
once. And now they voted for it again. And here's the crazy thing. It's not just the US, right? So his numbers have dropped. He's got the lowest approval ratings of any president in the last 50 years. After 1 year in office, it's just under 40%. But it's still about 40% of Americans, given everything that he's doing, are like, yep, he's our guy. Okay, fine. So 40% of Americans are basically rooting for this. But it's not just Americans. There are authoritarian leaders being elected around the world.
yeah,
And it's just destroying me that this is what people want. Yeah, I have genuinely lost faith in humanity that it's like, okay, roughly half of humanity is in favor of all of those traits that I just gave you of Trump.
Okay.
That's
Again,
what they're looking for. And
let
I'm
me
like,
try to
screw
push
humanity.
back here
I'm
to try
done.
to save your soul. The
right.
vast majority of elections, you're not voting for somebody, you're voting against somebody. Who is this sterling person on the left that we're going to vote for? Like, yeah, I hate Trump. Like, he's a terrible person, and the sheep's clothing, the wolf in sheep's clothing, the sheep's clothing off now. We can see it. It's quite clear. But that's not why everybody voted for him. That's not why he won the popular vote. It was him or a zombie or a lady that couldn't even string a sentence together. Like, and Trump was saying the right things. He had Elon on board. He was saying he was going to fix the budget. He said all the right things. I was on board. I was hopeful. It wasn't because I thought suddenly his character had changed. That's why I didn't vote for him the first time. I knew he was a philandering piece of crap. I knew he was a liar. But what are the options? Okay, so it's not that humanity is voting for this idiot, despot, wannabe totalitarian. Uh, it's we don't have any other options, and both sides are completely corrupt. We're going to talk about this with Tom's thing. Um, I thought he was maybe a little less corrupt. Turns out it might be he's a little more corrupt.
A little more, like a factor of 100, right?
Well, okay,
So
but
yes.
to Tom's point, that's that's what's bugging me and probably Tom about your argument is when Biden was siphoning hundreds of millions of dollars of bribes out of the economy, you seemed to be okay with it. You weren't like you hadn't lost faith in humanity. I kind of had. But now that it's $1 billion or a couple $1 billion now, like I want you to answer Tom's point here. Why are you so mad now when you weren't mad about the Clintons or Biden or Obama or any of these other idiot politicians that have made millions, hundreds of millions of dollars stealing from the American people? Now something has pushed your button.
Yeah, it's it's a couple things, right? One I probably can't say for FERPA reasons, but I'll try and vaguely describe it. I think it's not Trump, right? If Trump's approval ratings were like 5%, I'd be like, hey, there's hope, right? If he was universally despised, but he's not. And I get your point, Josh. It's like, no, we're voting against somebody. No. He won the Republican primary, right? So there were enough people in the Republican Party who wanted this person back.
Yeah,
so you can't say, oh, no, it was just a vote against Kamala. There were other candidates. Even my scumbag governor would have been better than Donald Trump. And I think he's a scumbag who's just a little bit better than Donald Trump.
But
right?
What you just said, that's the argument. I thought scumbag Trump was going to be a little better than Biden, and so did most people. I don't know it. Well, that's not true. I know 2 people that like Trump, and I should go talk to them now and see if they still like Trump. Most people don't like him.
Like it's Trump who's gonna fight for us, or it's like a globalist puppet, right? That's being controlled by nameless actors, right? That we don't even know.
Explain the 40% continuing to support him.
Yeah, no, and I think there's still that's what they see, right? He's going to fight for us. He's going to do stuff. And I don't think and I think sometimes it's less about Trump and more about the tribe, right? The tribe's winning. We're winning. Our tribe's winning, and that feels good, right?
Well, maybe that's true. Here, let me give you the other piece. So this is the other part that crushed my soul. Happened last semester. Again, I've got to be very careful because I can't break federal law here. Because one of us actually does, not you guys, but like of the politicians, right? I'm actually trying to follow the law here.
Yeah. Don't break federal law.
In one of my classes, so that's as close as I can get to it. In one of my classes last semester, half of my students cheated. Half.
You discovered half were cheating.
Oh, 100%. I'm sure they were doing it before, but I hadn't caught it. I caught them. I caught half of my students. And here's the gross part about it. Most of them, their response was, you can't prove it. Until I did, right? I was able to prove it because I actually had the ability to prove it. They didn't own it. If they had owned it, I'd be like, all right, like you got caught, like deal with it. No. They don't care that they're cheating.
Right.
That's half. And this is why it's like, okay, half of Americans. This is what they want with Trump. Half of my students have no moral compunction about cheating in my classes.
This surprised you.
Surprised me.
Yeah.
Shocked me. Right?
Yeah.
This is where we are, that there's just morality is out the window. I should care about the other half.
What was the bigger shock? They were cheating or that they didn't care or that they were
I don't think I mean, I'm sure students have cheated over the years, right? I think the part that got me is not that it's not even that they didn't care. They were like, it's almost worse than they don't care.
Right.
That this is okay.
So what? Yeah.
Like this is what I'm going to do, and this is perfectly fine. Like, why do you have a problem with me cheating? And I'm like, okay, well, fine. Like I'll just give you 0. Like you didn't learn anything clearly, right? And they just were losing their minds. Like, but everybody's doing it and you can't prove it. And I'm like, all right, fine. I just have no faith in basically anybody at this point, right?
Well, you're saying that like
this is half of humanity.
The country, the average person in our country has basically gone through a sharp decline in their moral like compass, and there's been incredible moral decline in like
and it's probably more than that.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but
it's probably more than that.
What do you mean? Probably more than that? What?
Just part of it also is probably where I live, right? I don't think there's a more selfish state than Florida. It's part of what really bugs me.
What do you
Just
mean?
drive on the
What's
roads
what's
here.
a selfish state?
Oh, drive on the roads, right? People
What
will
do you
do
mean?
anything they want to get one car in front of you, right? Because it's all
Oh,
about them. It's all about them. They don't care about anybody else. It's what do I want right now? And I'll stab you in the face if it gets me what I want right now. I'll shoot you. I don't care. It's just about me. It's all this selfishness. And it's
hmm.
driving me bonkers. And I just can't take it. But I think I'm finally realizing that it's not 5%, right? It was nice when I could say, oh, the 1% are this corrupt bunch of,
Yeah,
assholes
yeah,
who are
yeah,
stealing from everybody else. No,
yeah.
no, no, no. It's like 50% or more just have no moral compunction. They don't care. It's all about me. It's all about greed. It's all about, and I'm kind of broken. I've never been this way in my entire life. And now I'm just like, wow, humanity really sucks. Like we are shitty. We're really bad.
Cool.
Um,
You ready? Sounds
okay.
like you're ready
Wow.
to come back to church. We'll see you Sunday.
I don't think that's going to help. So sorry.
Um,
Churches are just as corrupt.
Well, I
no,
That's the
agree. I
problem.
agree.
no,
Come
here.
back to
Okay.
God though. That's what we need. Yeah.
Which
Uh,
God?
I'll try to Ryan doesn't like to talk about religion, so I'll try to refrain from that. But I agree with you 100%. And in my mind, in my view, the problem with the country, the problem with our society is people no longer worship anything greater than themselves. And that doesn't necessarily have to be God. Okay. I have a cousin, Ryan and I have a cousin that she is all about um, humane society. Like
Hmm.
whatever occupies most of your thoughts, most of your time, most of your attention, that is your God. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you worship. So she's worshiping essentially something larger than herself. She's trying to help animals. Cool. Good enough for me. She's a good person for the most part, right? Um, but as soon as you remove that altar where God is and you start worshiping at the altar of self, that's what Ryan's seeing. That's what we're seeing. That's what causes this moral decline in society. And we can go back to like it's going to be hard not to talk about religion here.
Well,
But you can
let
go
me give
you can
you
go
an
back to the
example.
founders real quick,
Sure.
just to the founders. They said as soon as you lose God in America, as soon as we lose God, the country will fail.
See, and I don't think God's necessary. Look at the Scandinavian countries, and I know we hold them up all the time, right? You've never seen better examples of support for the country. It's a form of nationalism. Now, it's not an exclusive nationalism, right? But it's a form of nationalism where the country matters more than the individual. And they are willing to sacrifice for the country and for the greater good of the people. So if you want to call that their God, fine,
Yeah,
right? But it works to maintain a society where it's not about selfishness and
sure.
greed.
They're
They
not
actually
worshiping at the
care more
altar of
about,
self.
yeah,
They're
they
worshiping
don't.
something
Self
else.
is behind
Yes.
country.
And we
And
agree. I
and
agree.
religion's not necessary, right? It's completely irrelevant for what they're doing. But they've actually said, you know what matters? My country. That- and everybody else in the country, right? Like it's not the country as like some abstract idea. It's like the people of Norway matter. And they matter enough that I'm willing to pay higher taxes and to do all of these other things. So I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, like, you're probably right, right? When you put self before everything else, it's a really shitty society. And right now, I don't think we've got a better embodiment of that than Donald Trump. It is
Can
all about Donald Trump. And this is why, like, yes, he's bad, but now I'm realizing that it's like, oh, well, probably the majority of Americans are just like that. And it's just killing me. It's killing me. And I've got to figure out a
uh
way to deal with it.
all right, curveball question, and then we need to move on. Like, but do you think, as far as going back to the Doge question, I actually believe Elon Musk was sincere in his like desires to fix the government and really wanted to I think he actually gets a high out of making things efficient, right? If you ever seen like the progress of the Falcon engines that he builds and like
Yeah.
how crazy complicated they are and then they become incredibly simplified. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I think he loves that kind of stuff. And I think he's like, oh my gosh, the government, I could do so much here. And I really think he
Yeah.
sincerely wanted to fix it. Like, I don't think well, some people were pointing, they're like, oh, he's trying to do this to enrich himself, or he's trying to, and I
No.
think he really wanted to fix things. And
Yeah.
like, but like, do you believe that or do you not?
Well, so let's give you some agreement. I actually do. I think there are all sorts of issues with Elon Musk. We don't have to go down that path, but I think you're probably right. And there are people like that. I love efficiency too, right? If I can cut out, just like I do this with I run Linux, right? There's a reason I run Linux is I can completely customize my desktop to maximize efficiency, right? So I'm all about efficiency. I love efficiency. And I think he probably is like that. But I think he's probably the black sheep, right? So I'm thinking about my wife's going to kill me if I get into too many details here, but here in the state of Florida, right, they've pushed this whole this is my obligatory reference to Florida politics. So you can all nod and just be like, yeah, it happened. There was a brief push into Doge, right? But right now we have a politician in the state who is trying to start a competing genetic counseling program in the state, and is actually going to put potentially millions of dollars towards a competing genetic counseling program. And they're going to base it in a place where they don't have any genetic counselors and they can't actually run the program. It's not efficient. There's nothing efficient about it. There is a genetic counseling program that is already functioning in the state in a population center that has genetic counselors that can oversee the training of genetic counselors. It's completely inefficient, but it's all pork barrel. This is pork barrel politics, right? If Doge was really what was motivating these fuckers, they would not be doing this. This is anti-Doge, right?
Right.
So I don't think Doge, like, again, Elon Musk, different. I think he actually cared about efficiency. I think for the people who are really behind this, it was an opportunity to cut the things that they didn't like, to get rid of inspectors general, right? To get rid of all of these things. They're like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. But in reality, they don't give a shit about efficiency. Efficiency means nothing to them.
They just want to use Elon as a weapon.
Yes, it's a weapon. Here's how I get what I want. And we're going to call that efficiency. They don't care about efficiency. They don't care at a lick for efficiency.
I think I actually agree with you.
They probably want the inverse of efficiencies because it's easier to hide what they're doing.
I think that's true.
Okay. Cool. Great. Some more agreement. All right, let's move on.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so so I'm gonna explain.
So for all of you who haven't slit your wrists yet, on to part 2.
Totally. Still care about anything.
Are we doing
anymore.
our quick side where we can actually laugh for a second? Because sorry, it's been really dark and I hate to.
Should.
Yeah.
Josh, tell us about Trump's boats.
But it's the same.
Ryan, put that razor down.
Okay. Well, hopefully this is funny. Trump has announced that he wants to create a whole new class of battleships named the Trump class of what are they, missile battleships or something.
Oh yeah, they can carry nuclear warheads.
Yeah.
But they're also going to have, what is it, 10mm guns? Because he thought they were cool back in World War, not even, was it World War II? Yeah, he liked the size of the gun. He liked how they looked. So they decided to put those cannons on the ships because Trump liked the way they
guns,
which makes no sense.
Very big.
They're going to be they're going to have a flux capacitor on them. They're going to have state-of-the-art gaydar, so they can find those gay Venezuelan drug smugglers. They're going to have oars on them, manned by MS-13 galley slaves.
For sure.
Yeah. They're going to have a plank. They're going to have a plank so Donald Trump can push off anybody that doesn't like him. And they'll all have a full-service McDonald's. And they'll all have big, beautiful ballrooms.
Yes.
Big, beautiful ballroom.
So one of the other things that he actually wanted was rail guns. Did you catch that? He wants rail guns.
Really?
The Navy has invested, I don't know, probably billions in failed projects and research on this. And they established, like, this is not possible. No, you cannot do rail guns. Yeah. And they're going to put rail guns on the Trump class.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Because they're all fairy ships anyway, right? They're all make-believe. Like, it's magic. So we're going to make it happen anyway. Yeah.
So bizarre.
What do you mean bizarre? This is a bunch of people giving Trump blowjobs to make sure that they're still in his good graces because he's a fucking dictator. Like, that is what is happening here. And we just need to call it out, right? Like, they're stroking Trump to make sure that they keep him happy, even though every single person who did this, except for the people who are going to make billions of dollars off of these ridiculous ships, they know it's a complete waste of money. This is anti-Doge. Sorry. We were supposed to be laughing. I'm sorry.
No, that's why I didn't want to go
We got
into it.
serious real
After the
quick.
first section, okay, so for everybody listening, when we planned this episode, we said, let's do this serious thing, and then I'm going to bring up the battleships to lighten it up, and then we'll go and do another serious thing. They didn't lighten it up because Ryan's
What
ready
was
to.
it? Yeah, but you got
Ryan's
to give a
like,
shout out. Was that Deseret B who did that?
Babylon B.
Babylon
They're
B.
they're a conservative.
Humor outlet,
yeah, like
satire.
The
They're like
Onion.
the Onion, but
They're like the
conservative.
Onion, and
But even
they're
they were
funny.
mocking his thing,
Oh, they
right? Even
constantly
they were
mock
mocking
Trump.
it. Yeah,
They're pretty fair. They mock Trump all the time, and
Yeah.
that's pretty accurate.
yeah.
Thanks
It
for
was
trying to
funny.
lighten it up. And then we go to Ryan. He's
Um,
like, hello, darkness, my old friend. We're like,
It's a great song,
okay.
by the way.
All right,
All
let's
right,
jump.
Tom, introduce your next one.
Yeah, okay. These Minnesota fraud investigations. Okay, so I just got two paragraphs I'm going to read here. Federal authorities are actively investigating large-scale fraud involving federal aid programs in Minnesota, particularly in the Twin Cities area. Much of the scrutiny involves programs such as Medicaid, housing subsidies, child nutrition, autism therapy, and other social services. So let's see right here. Okay. Past cases include hundreds of defendants charged and dozens of convictions in schemes such as the nonprofit Feeding Our Future, which fraudulently billed COVID-era nutrition funds, about 250 million in convictions in that part of the case. So that's what I've understood. I heard 350, but I 202.
Oh, maybe over $1 billion now.
Well, it's 250 of confirmed
Yeah.
fraudulent cases, but they're saying that's the tip of the iceberg, and their
Yep, could be over
estimates.
$1 billion.
Well, it's so I heard 9 billion, but then just today I heard one said 18 billion, and this is what it says here. Yeah, prosecutors estimate that up to half of about eight. Okay, so it's half, so it'd be 9 billion. Yeah, so prosecutors estimate that up to half of about 18 billion in federal funds paid into roughly 14 Minnesota programs since 2018 have been fraudulent or improperly claimed, and so that's where they're getting the 9 billion. Yeah, of like. Almost, yeah, double digit billion fraud with these programs that that are like Feeding Our Future and these other things. So just insane, like
Yeah.
insane. Like this is more like we were talking about Doge, and this is going to be more than what Doge uncovered, right? In
Yep.
when it did it, and like this is industrial scale fraud. Like I was thinking,
like
well,
that
I was
term.
just thinking about this, like. So say you had like those little stamp things that you get at the burger store, right? And you'd be like, if you buy 9 burgers, you get one free. And somebody like started fraudulently making those, right? And like how like what we get to like a few thousand before someone be like, We got way too many of these to
Yeah.
justify like what's going on, right? Like a small company couldn't sustain anything like this. Like it's only the government that could even sustain a fraud
Oh, yeah.
this big, right? They could
Sure.
even like support it. That it's so incredibly insanely large. Um, Now the other thing that happened was this is the crazy story. Did you? So, and I'm sure Josh has probably heard of this. I'm interested to know if Ryan, if you heard about this, but it's the guy, the Shirley. Do you know what I'm talking about? So this guy basically,
Surely.
it's like an investigative journalist that just went in
Yeah.
and he
He uncovered it
visited.
all himself. Just some
Yeah.
guy.
Him and like other guy, and they went to like a dozen of these different places that have received millions of dollars of funds, and just knocking on the doors, and it was like, "Hey, you've received this. What's going on?" And they're like going to these places, and there's like a childcare that has 161 students enrolled, and there's nobody there, and there's like
Yeah.
no kids there, and there's like one person. They're like, "Oh yeah, sorry," and they're like, "Shut the door." And there's like no kids. Then they go to this
You,
other place, and it's like the Luring Center, and it's supposed to be the Learning Center. It's this big poster, and it says the Leering Center without it, and it's like clearly like not,
A thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Not
like
really.
they're not, no one's learning there. Let's just
Yep.
be clear. And so obviously, just easily unravels that it
Hmm.
was just like mind-boggling. But like, but what I keep hearing is like there have been zero AP stories on this. There have been zero CBS stories on this, right? There's been zero like coverage of this. And
Oh
like,
no. I'm looking at NPR's coverage right now. Like
yeah, okay,
tons of places. I mean, it was in the New York Times, right? Like, yeah, everybody's covering this. So
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's widespread. I mean, this is not like there's nothing here. Um, yeah, fraud's bad.
That's really
Pervasive.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's bad.
And
Yep.
they're basically we're saying, and I've heard a number of articles saying there's probably some other. I hear something about Ohio, and I've heard some other, which is a conservative state, but then I've
Sure.
heard some other ones, a number of blue states. They're like, I think Massachusetts or Maine. They're like, there's probably some problems here. They're like more than likely, but I haven't heard any like convictions. But yes, well, I mean, if there's some where there's one cockroach, there's probably more. But
Would not be surprised, right? There's lots of fraud. Uh, I think it's pervasive. I think there's fraud all over the place, and it's bad. And I think you're right. Like government can sustain this. It's sad that they're not catching it.
Why would they?
I think
Oh,
I do have a question for you guys, though,
yeah,
right? What is your solution to this? And I see two possible solutions. One, we don't let the government give out any money, right? Two, we actually have people in place who are checking to make sure that it's not fraudulent.
Doge.
So to me, those are the two options, right? Maybe there's a third and I'm not thinking of it, but those are the two options.
But
Which would
like,
you guys take?
neither.
so
So give me
one,
the other option.
so Ryan, you talked about earlier in the program, you talked about like the 17 regulators, these oversight regulators
Inspector
that got
generals.
fired.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, what were they doing? Right? Like,
hmm
Clearly, all
because,
this was going on before they got fired.
well, I mean,
That
and I don't know if
I
this was
mean,
their
this was in
domain,
Minnesota, right? Those were
right?
federal inspector generals. So
But this isn't. These are federal.
part of it was federal funds, part of it was Minnesota
Yeah.
funds.
Well, it says federal aid programs, and so
Yeah, but it was administered by the state of Minnesota, right? So the money was going through the state of Minnesota, and part of it was also Minnesota money. So yeah, totally fair. Like somebody should be catching this. I totally agree.
well,
So what is the answer? How do
i-
you solve that?
is it okay? Would you agree that it seems like of all the places to if you want to commit fraud, the best place to do it is the government. Like everything seems to
Sure.
point to that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the senators from my state, Rick Scott, is a multi-million, like hundreds of millions of dollars because he defrauded the federal government.
Right.
That,
Right.
that that's how he got all of his money. He ran a healthcare corporation. They defrauded Medicare of hundreds of millions of dollars. He claimed he knew nothing about it, and then he has used that fortune to become governor of the state and now senator for the state of Florida.
Yes.
Massive
Uh,
healthcare fraud, and that's our senator.
I read about a number of articles about the PPP loans that were given
hmm
out to different
Oh
businesses
yeah,
that
they just stole it.
right that people are just blatantly
Just
lying
stole it.
and buying
Yep, just stole it.
Ferraris, right? And then and I've read a number of articles about the I like the IRS's struggles to fix fraud with tax returns of identity fraud, right? Of like if I get your social security right, I can file your taxes for you and
hmm
file for a tax return. And I
Gotta
can just
have a
be like,
dummy.
yeah, I made 100,000 and I paid 10,000 in taxes. I owed $1,000 back, right?
Right.
And the IRS is like, and you send it in paper and they're like, well, the social security's numbers, right? Okay, right. And there's not that many checks and balances and that like that they've been struggling to like deal
hmm
with this. Um, like it's pretty, it's pretty easy to dupe the government, right? And it's interesting. And, like this is interesting because I worked in fintech and particularly in underwriting, and we dealt with a lot of first person fraud, which is when a person is just lying to you, and third person fraud, which is where someone is trying to be somebody else, right? And they're applying for loans, and they're like that's not who they actually are, but like. And you got to be able to catch both, and we did some insanely cool and I think ingenious things to like try to catch this, and but like the government doesn't do any of this, right? It's like I like the IRS is like where I've heard like they're working off systems so old that like they just can't like they can't even figure
Probably
things
true.
out because it's like so antiquated. And you're like, what? Um, like to me, it's like we need Doge there. We need Doge like on steroids in our government. Like it feels like, and I said this like a number of podcasts ago, that like we could have everything that we're getting in our government and not have tax increases and balance, and we could have a balanced budget, right? If we actually like were worked on our efficiency of like rooting out fraud and everything.
I think
I
I have a solution
sincerely
for it, but
believe
yeah, I
sincerely
think I have a
believe.
solution, but I want to hear Josh because Josh didn't agree with either of mine. Mine was
No,
we don't give the money out, or we actually do a better job of tracking it.
we already have people in place to oversee this. I have friends that work for like the military, and their whole job is looking for, missed expenditures and fraud and that kind of stuff. And guess what? The military is still replete with this stuff. Um, the answer, and we argued about this when Elon first started with Doge, he was trying to just chop everything down and then go in and rebuild it to fix it. That's the answer. You got to burn the whole thing down because we know that fraud is happening. Rick Scott, was that his name?
Yep.
He defrauded the government. Was he held accountable?
No.
No, he was rewarded.
Yep.
Tim Walz has overseen this entire cluster F in Minnesota to the tune of $8 billion. Is anything going to happen to Tim? Is anything going to happen to anybody?
Nope.
Or
Well, the people who did it are going to jail. So, yay. But the people who oversaw it, no.
The
people
that
who oversaw it,
it,
there are no
who
consequences.
probably were dipping their hands in the till.
Possible.
Ain't nothing happened to them. And I'm not singling out one party or another. Okay. In
Can't imagine
Minnesota,
you could have fraud that big without anyone asking any questions. Well,
who's going to
and
jail?
the fact that this was the point I was trying to make was this investigator comes over and can just poke holes in this thing immediately, right? And be like, well, where's the kids, right? Where are all these kids that it's like, oh yeah, well, and like so easily could show that it's fraud that that nobody noticed this, right? Like there had to be a number of people working inside that were either complicit, getting rewarded, right, or something.
Absolutely. At the bare minimum. Okay.
At the very bare minimum.
If you have a private business and you see that there's fraud, at the very least, the person perpetrating it gets fired, but they probably get prosecuted. When it comes to the government, what government officials are being held accountable here? And here's the problem. In Minnesota, it's the Democrats perpetrating the fraud. Now the Republicans know about it. Have the Republicans done a dang thing about it?
No.
No. In Ohio, if the Republicans were doing it or Rick Scott was doing it, the Republican, did the Democrats do anything about it? No. Trump kept running on that promise. I'm going to lock up Hillary for all of her crappy fraud, and I'm going to clean the swamp out. Did he do anything? No. I've seen these talking points lately. We're finding out the January 6th hoaxer thing, and there were CIA operatives, a whole bunch of CIA operatives there, and they found the pipe bomber or whatever.
Yep.
And
Virginia.
Pam Bondi, like the statute of limitations is about to run out on that. Has Pam Bondi, who Trump promised she was going to be putting everybody in jail, has she made any high profile arrests?
Nope.
Has anybody been put in jail for the Epstein crap?
Nope.
No. Both sides are completely complicit. So if the thing was set up with the two-party system where they're watching each other and holding each other accountable, they're all friends behind closed doors. All of them. They're all in this together. They're the ones profiting. Why would they hold each other accountable? Nobody gets held accountable for any of this. Nobody gets put in jail. If you're a politician, you're on the insiders club. I brought this up a bunch of times, but it's such a great example. Charlie Rangel, who was head of the tax committee years ago, cheated on his taxes. And all he had to do when we caught him is he walked in front of Congress and said, hey, I'm sorry. He didn't go to jail. If Ryan cheats on his taxes, he goes to jail. Okay.
Right.
I've been trumpeting that for years. The only way to fix this is to burn it to the ground. How else do you fix it? It's rotten to the core.
When you say burn it to the ground, what are you exactly saying?
All
I
the
can imagine
AARP
in a lot of
members
different ways.
They're gonna revolt and they're gonna kill everybody over 70. That's what Josh wants.
Yeah,
I am not afraid of the AARP members at all.
Come on, there's some levity here. I'm trying.
Okay.
I've been dark all night, but I do have a solution for you, Josh.
Well, when I say burn it to the ground, ideally, like that's why I was hopeful for Doge. Elon came in and he started hacking and slashing, but he didn't have enough power to do it, and it was going to be painful. Like this is, I've brought it up before in Argentina. Yeah, Javier Milei, he did austerity measures. He just started hacking government um, programs and government offices, just got rid of everything that wasn't completely 100% essential. He got rid of everything, and it worked. It was incredibly painful, but that's how you get rid of all of the corruption, all of the fraud, all of the waste, all of the inefficiency. That's the only way to do it. And barring that, because it doesn't look like we're going to get the political will to do it, we're not going to elect anybody to do it because the Democrats and Republicans are both so corrupt. We're going to have to, we'll go full circle here. All of these young men, all of the military age men that don't have jobs, time to pick up a gun because the country's gone. It's been bought and sold underneath us. The country's gone. There's not much left. We don't have much time left. Ideally, Doge, a better Doge, a more powerful Doge is what fixes it, but I don't see it happening.
No,
All right, Ryan,
so
what's your
I
solution?
think you need to concede to human nature that there's a way to do this. What incentivizes people to do things?
Money.
Money, right? So you take some pretty intelligent, really good accountants, attorneys, etc., and say, you get, I don't know, pick a percentage, right? 1 to 5% of everything that you save the government,
Yeah.
you pocket it. It's
Like,
yours.
and you're saying like the supervisors or
Yeah.
administrators.
They're
Yeah,
bounty hunters now.
I've thought about that.
They're bounty hunters, right? Can
Right.
you imagine how much money you could make if your job was just to go after the Somali fraud thing, right?
Right.
If you
Right.
went after the Somali fraud thing, you're going to walk away with what, 5% of what you saved the government if you caught that? You're
Yeah,
now
this
like
is
I
like
hundreds of millions of dollars that you get
I
to
love
pocket.
your idea, but how do you put somebody in charge of that has the political power to actually enforce that?
Oh,
That's the
right.
problem.
So I think the
right.
only tricky part is now how do you turn that back on the politicians themselves?
Exactly.
Right.
So
That's the
I
problem.
I think you could do it
What?
with the private sector. I think you could do it with government funding of different programs, right? I think you could do it in a lot of different ways if you just incentivize, like it's a completely independent body, right?
Right.
Completely independent. It's not overseen by politicians. Trump can't fire them willy-nilly, right? They are completely independent. Maybe make them elected by all of the American people, and they are completely immune from all of this. But there's also
This
like a separate body that's investigating those fuckers too, right? So who watches the watchers? Like you got to have that.
Well,
But
it reminds me of the
let's do
hack
it.
fests, right? That a lot of
Yeah.
companies do that they'll give you a reward if you can find something wrong with their code, right? And you
Yep.
can, which is I think
You
so
reward them.
smart, right?
Yeah.
To like, and then they'll patch it and then they give them a
hmm
reward. That's
Hack us and we'll give you $5,000 and then we
yeah,
can patch it and we're safer as a result. I
right.
think that's the only way that you actually solve it is you incentivize really smart, good, competent people to actually go after the people who are trying to abuse the system.
Okay, I'm thinking about this because it's like, or sorry. So the issue is like, so okay, there was a already an existing government agency that was in charge of efficiency, right? And
hmm
like and this was brought up a number of times, like, well, we already have this, but like they brought up things and no one did anything about
Right.
it. And so they're like, yeah, you could do this, you could do this. And everyone's like, okay, great, right? No, what I had thought was something, I guess I something similar was like within the government, like with as the administrator and like down through the tiers, like if you can, for every 10% you save on the budget next year, you get X amount, right?
Yep.
Of like if you can, you incentivize it from the administrator's
hmm
point of view, like something like that is this is the only thing I've thought of like that could actually like, okay, oh yeah, we actually had to cut that budget, right?
Oh, for
I don't know.
sure. I mean, can you imagine if the head of the IRS, um, that every, X percent that they save the government by going after tax cheats, right? They
Right.
get a cut of that. If it just works its way up, right? So the financial investigators who are going after some big tax cheat, they get a cut of what they
Hmm.
actually catch. But
Hmm.
it works its way all the way up the chain, right? So their supervisor gets a little bit. I mean, I hate to do pyramid schemes, right? But like the way you
Yeah.
incentivize
No,
it, and then of
totally.
course, somebody's got to watch the watchers. I don't know that I've got that figured out, but I think that's the only way that you end up doing this. And then of course, Josh's point is totally valid. How do you then go after the politicians? So the politicians are the ones who are causing the problem. I think I agree, and this is part of why I'm so jaded now. But how do you then turn this back on the politicians? It's got to be some independent body, right? But they can't have complete control. We need like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of one of the superhero guilds, right? Like,
The Justice League.
yeah, like the Justice League. You need a Justice League type thing, right? That somehow is overseen by honest people. Good luck with that. I don't think there are any of them.
That's the problem
They don't
right there.
exist.
I love the idea. I love the infrastructure, but how do you have somebody more powerful than the politicians? How do you have somebody that can override the politicians? Who is that? What does that look like?
Well,
Think
this
it's
is what I would say. You could get someone in there and they would be honest, but then within a generation, they would
Yeah.
be corrupted very quickly,
Yep,
right?
that's what happens. That's why you have to burn it to the ground and root out all the corruption and start over. And then
But that's
it'll
not going to
eventually
change
go.
anything according to your own logic, right? If it just takes a generation, you're just going to go right back to it.
Yes, but
Which
that's
goes back to my point earlier, which is fuck humanity.
No,
oh
you're
yeah,
saying
that's a good
okay.
solution. Good job, buddy.
We,
Well,
what is your solution? Fix it temporarily, and then we go right back to
Yes,
being broken because humanity sucks.
you don't
Like,
go right back to being broken. Okay, that is the point of capitalism versus socialism. Okay, every system makes the pyramid more and more steep, where you have less people at the top, more people with nothing at the bottom. But in capitalism, that appropriation of all of the power and wealth to the wealthy few, that happens much slower in capitalism. That's why it's the best system when you break it down
okay, but right
as
now
simply as possible.
we're like
Exactly.
this. Like
Exactly.
it's straight.
So you
we're
have to reset it. Okay, this is like Fight Club kind of thing, right? You have to
This is like
reset the
French
system.
Revolution, is what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. You have to reset the system. The government has become so fat and bloated and corrupt, you have to reset it. Hit the reset button. You have to get rid of it. And then you start again. And then you just have what's not. This is what Argentina just did. They just had
It wasn't
absolutely
a
what was necessary.
revolution. It wasn't a
Exactly.
revolution.
They austerity measures. That's why I'm hoping we can do austerity measures, but we don't have the political will to do it. And we haven't hit that huge crash yet. Hopefully that's what we do instead of having a revolution. It'll be much more pleasant. Far fewer people will die, but that's the only way out. Argentina just showed the whole world the only way out, but we got our heads so far up our own butts, we refuse to see what they just did and that it worked. It sucked there for a year. Now things are getting pretty good. And that's how it's cyclical. That's how it works. You get rid of the huge bloated government apparatus that's ruining everything, and it sucks, but then things get better, and then they'll be better for years until the government becomes too bloated again. That's the nature of government, is it appropriates power. That's what governments do. So you have to knock it down time to time.
what? All right, let's I want to hear what can be what do you think will happen? Because we're all like, well, you could try this, you could try this, but nothing's going to work because we're corrupt. And so what's inevitably going to happen? What's like I want to kind of want a predictor. Like what do you guys think? Like where do we go from here? Because like Ryan's like it's all gonna go to heck, or I don't know. You're all like, what is it all gonna just go to heck? Are we going to anarchy? Like, is this inevitable? Like,
I'm seeing the beginning of Ryan's supervillain story right here.
Oh, I've already written this story. It's
right?
awesome.
Yeah, we need a
I've got the
catalyst.
outline for a book that like this is the totally justified supervillain. Like I absolutely want to write this book that it's like it's totally justified, right? Humanity sucks. Like he should
Right?
totally kill them all. I'm fine with that.
Isn't that Noah was like, they're all bad. Like
Yeah,
a lot of them,
totally
and
justifiable.
take you with me. All right, good.
Yeah.
Right, Ryan. I want to hear.
Uh, Y'all. Man, I am normally so much more idealistic and optimistic, but it's gone after the last semester and I don't know, the last 6 months. It's kind of destroyed me.
Dang
My
students.
my answer right now is I don't really care. Just don't
Wow.
care.
What do you see happening though? What do you think will happen?
Uh, the vast majority of people will continue to do nothing about any corruption because they're selfish, and until it actually affects them in any meaningful way, they are perfectly fine to let the corrupt politicians be corrupt politicians as long as it doesn't affect them, right? Nothing's going to happen. And I hate to say it, but I don't think it's going to be, a year from now that all these young men who don't have jobs are going to revolt, right? I mean, we're years away from this. There are enough people who are fat and happy that they're like, we're fine. This isn't a problem. We'll just continue on as it is. More people like me will have their souls crushed and will just become jaded and check out of the system until Josh may be right. Bloody revolution. I don't know. It's sad. It's bleak. Sorry. I have not been this person this entire time we've been doing this podcast, but I am
No?
just like destroyed. I'm done. So I am checking out. I'm reading a lot of fiction these days. I'm trying
Wow.
not to pay attention to what's going on. I'm just checking
Welcome
out.
to the club. This is where I've been for the last couple of years. Welcome.
Well,
It's a
okay.
shitty club, Josh. I don't want to join your club.
Your
This
club's
is a
You're
shitty
already
club.
here. You're already here. Happy to have you.
Josh, your turn, and then Tom, you get to go.
I think within the next 3 years, we're going to have a big old recession, and we're not going to come back from it. It's going to be like Great Depression type of recession. Everything has to reset. Everything's broken. Everything. The government's completely broken. The housing market's broken. Medical system's completely broken. Normal people can't afford this stuff. So we're going to have another Great Depression is what's going to happen. And hopefully at some point during that period, somebody will step up and say, hey, like an Elon will step up and be like, well, here's how we fix it. Austerity measures. That's how we fix it. If that doesn't happen, if a Trump kind of person steps up during that period and says, I know how to fix it, we go to war. That'll reinvigorate the economy. China, our economy sucks. Catch. We start shooting missiles at China. That might be what happens. And then we got World War III. So I
With
foresee,
nuclear weapons. Yay.
yeah, it's going to be one or the other.
I'm
It
gonna
just
start
it
building my
depends.
bunker.
It really, again, welcome to the club. Are you going to get
How much
guns
is
yet?
property in New Zealand? How much is property in New Zealand? That's where Peter Till's going. I guess I'm moving in next to Peter Till.
Not a terrible idea. Yeah, I think which way we go will depend on how quickly the moral fabric of our nation can be mended. There's been a swing to fix it. There's been a swing to turn people towards God. The whole Charlie Kirk thing, there was awakening. People started going to church and started going, okay, I need to be more conscious of what's going on, more moral. And that's what's going to decide it. If people, and this is to Ryan's earlier point, if we're still a nation of narcissists, we're doomed. If we're a nation that will actually care about other people, we have a chance. But I think that's what's going to happen.
So Ernest Hemingway has this great quote that I really like, and it says he's asked about bankruptcy, about him going bankrupt. He says, how did you go bankrupt? And he says, two ways, gradually and then suddenly. And um I
That's good.
oh, I love that quote because I think it explains a lot of things, right? Like a lot of like financial, especially financial things, but like it's like happening, and then it goes fast, right? And I think it's like I don't think we gradually. I mean, I think we're gradually like kind of what Ryan's saying. We're seeing this go happening, but then something will make it go suddenly. And uh, I don't think Great Depression. I think Weimar Germany hyperinflation. Things get more exciting, not less exciting. Like I think we're like, oh my gosh, things are crashing. Okay, we gotta do stuff. Blah, money printers, things go crazy, hyperinflation, things get really excited and exciting and things you see a rapid change in social structures, in hierarchies, in right, like in our institutions, like we see just rapid change and all of that. And then we wake up and it's a totally different America, right? I don't see any way that we can stop that from happening. Like change is going to be happening, like significant, strong change within the next 3 years. I completely agree.
Next 3 years.
Well,
Yes.
it's not sustainable right now.
No,
Housing
not
market's so
currently sustainable.
insane. People can't get insurance, and like young, industrious, working people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, on that positive, uplifting note to our listeners, I mean, I hope you really enjoyed this and you laughed with us and you had a great time. Get yourself a Lux bidet because that's about the only thing that can clean the shit off of you at this point.
It's the only luxury you're gonna have left soon. Yeah. Thanks for staying with us. If you haven't turned in the car, swerved it into a barricade.
If you haven't killed yourself at this point, oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, well, you know what? I misery loves company. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Right? So I've fallen all the way to the bottom. I've hit rock bottom, and it turns out you guys were down here the whole time.
We're down here. Hey, welcome, Ryan.
I've been up there floating in the clouds, like there's hope for humanity. We can make a difference. We can change this thing. And now I'm like, yeah, no, nope. Burn it all down. I don't care. We don't deserve it.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll talk to you later on another episode.
If there is one.
Yeah, if we have, we're all still alive soon. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Josh, we may not always agree when it comes to politics, even though we're trying, but there is one thing we agree on. There is only one way to clean up after going to the bathroom, and that's with a Lux bidet.
I've been a proud owner of a Lux bidet for years. I have literally owned a Lux Neo 320 since 2013. That's the warm water model. Talk about happy, fun, poopy time. When I leave the bathroom, I know I'm clean and ready to talk politics in a civilized manner.
Exactly. Using a toilet without a bidet is about as uncivilized as it gets. Civil conversations demand civil hygiene practices.
And that is why our listeners should get themselves a Lux bidet.
And just to be clear, Lux is not supporting one side or the other in this podcast. They support civil conversations and clean butts.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds. The music is by Ben Sound. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and not those of their employers. For more information or more episodes, you can find us at findingcommonbattlegrounds.com.